Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're doing a real deep dive, totally objective review of a highly talked about new product called StoryMarket AI. It's being built as a system designed to completely rethink how Kindle books are actually published. You know, if you've ever spent weeks or even months pouring your absolute heart into a manuscript only to watch it just sink straight to the bottom of the Amazon charts, well, this explainer is exactly for you. Let's kick things off with a pretty painful reality for a lot of authors. Why do great Kindle books fail? Think about it. You write a fantastic book, you finally hit upload on KDP, you sit there refreshing your dashboard all day like it owes you money, and then the algorithm just completely buries it. No way around it. That hurts. And that frustrating experience, it translates to a staggering 90%. Yeah, 90% of new KDP books completely fail to gain traction in their very first month. Why? Well, because on average, authors are wasting 3 full weeks writing for the absolute wrong niche. They're basing all their big decisions entirely on gut intuition rather than actual hard market data. So to see if this new tool is the cure, here is our agenda for this explainer. We'll quickly cover the KDP publishing problem, what StoryMarket AI actually is, the 12-step strategy blueprint, pros, cons, and costs, and then we'll wrap up with the final verdict. All right, Section 1, the Kindle publishing problem. Stop guessing and start strategizing. You know, the fundamental flaw in how most authors approach Amazon really comes down to a battle of methodology. The old way? It relies heavily on hope, raw emotion, randomly imitating competitors, or just leaning on generic AI content. But the systematic way leverages actual market data, real series blueprints, and a highly structured launch strategy. And the kicker? It figures all of this out before page 1 is ever even written. We have to remember, Amazon is not a cozy library. It's a fiercely competitive marketplace. Moving right along to Section 2, what is StoryMarket AI, the bestseller blueprint? Okay, let's clear up a massive misconception right off the bat. StoryMarket AI is not a writing tool that just churns out prose for you to copy and paste. Not at all. Actually, it's a 12-step strategy and planning platform. It was built by a creator named Nhan Scope, and it's designed specifically for Kindle authors and AI publishers to handle every single crucial decision that happens before you start writing. It's like a giant blueprint for your book. This brings us to a quote that really hits the nail on the head when it comes to their core philosophy. Don't write the book you want to write. Write the book the market is buying. It's a tough pill to swallow, but the books that perform best aren't necessarily the most beautifully written. They are, for sure, the most strategically positioned. And figuring that out is exactly what this software aims to do. All right, on to Section 3, the 12-step strategy blueprint, from idea to algorithm ready. So how does this actually work in practice? Well, the 12 steps are cleverly broken down into 3 high-level phases. First, validating your niche up front. Second, building the exact right book architecture. And third, executing a smart launch strategy. Let's break down what actually happens inside these 3 phases. Phase 1 is all about validation. It's basically looking before you leap. It gives you real estimates on things like click-through rates and read-through percentages. You pick your genre and your tropes, and the system literally tells you the market demand and the competition level. It even analyzes top-ranking books and points out their specific weaknesses, like, say, a really slow conflict in the first 15% of the story, giving you the exact gap in the market that you can exploit. Now, moving into Phase 2, building the book, the tools here get incredibly specific. The cover recommender doesn't just toss out a vague idea, it outputs the exact color hex codes for you to hand straight to your designer. But honestly, the absolute standout here is the AI rewrite differentiator. This is absolutely crucial right now. If you're an AI publisher, you know that generic content is just flooding Amazon. This module takes your generic concept and injects specific power dynamics and narrative hooks to make it uniquely addictive. Plus, there's a series roadmap that maps out a full 5-book arc before you even write book 1, which is how you build that compounding income. Let's move to Phase 3 and see how the whole shebang builds to a climax. It hands you a complete bestseller draft blueprint. We're talking a full 20-chapter outline with word targets and cliffhangers for every single chapter. Then, the production kit nicely packages your blurb, your keywords, and your cover brief into a JSON or PDF file. Finally, the launch engine gives you a day-by-day plan for getting reviews. It ensures your book actually hits the market with momentum instead of just sitting there on page 10 hoping for a random click. Which brings us to Section 4, pros, cons, and costs. Let's evaluate the system. Being completely objective here, we have to look at both sides. The system is brilliant for pre-publishing strategy. It genuinely solves the hardest part of Kindle publishing. And like I said, that differentiator module is a lifesaver for AI users. However, we have to seriously note the cons. First, it will not actually write the prose for you. Furthermore, Nhan Scope is a newer creator on Warrior Plus, which means there's a limited long-term review history to look back on. And finally, it runs on a finite credit system. So what's the damage? What does it actually cost? Well, currently, StoryMarket AI Lite is priced at a one-time founder fee of just $17. Yeah, $17. That is a massive shift from the standard software models we're seeing everywhere today. There are no monthly subscriptions, no annual renewals, and no hidden fees to access the core 12 modules. Now, that 17 books buys you a flexible 200 credits. And just to be super clear on what that translates to, 200 credits is exactly enough to run one complete book project through all 12 modules, from your very first idea all the way to launch. And you can do it at your own pace because those credits don't expire. If you want to do this for dozens of books or maybe run an agency for clients, there are optional upgrades like an unlimited tier and a commercial license, but that base $17 gets your first project fully mapped out. I also really want to highlight something I found incredibly refreshing about their sales material. It is vital to manage expectations here. The platform explicitly states that its ranking probability and CTR scores are directional projections. They are tools to help you make data-driven choices, right? They aren't a magic wand. You still have to put your head down and execute a high-quality manuscript. And that brings us to Section 5, the final verdict. Is it actually worth the investment? So, who actually benefits most from a tool like this? Well, if you are an author who is just frustrated with the absolute lottery of random sales spikes, this gives you a repeatable framework. If you're an AI publisher terrified of your generic content getting buried by the algorithm, the differentiation module alone is worth the price of admission. And if you're a ghostwriter or a service provider, the ability to hand your client a gorgeous, highly detailed PDF validation report, that just makes you look incredibly professional. Ultimately, I want to leave you with this provocative question to really think about. What is the true cost of your next unread book? You have to weigh the $17 cost of this systematic, data-driven blueprint against the absolutely devastating cost of spending 3 weeks writing a book that nobody ever reads. It's really all about starting with intelligence, not guesswork. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope it gave you the clarity you need to go out there and plan your next bestseller.